Welcome back to the Battle Hardened here in Milwaukee, put on by MinMax Games. We have another round 2 matchup for you. If you wanted to see more Levia, well, now's the time. So let's go ahead and jump down into the arena and watch New versus Levia. Jesse versus Andre. Who do you think in this matchup you would rather be sitting in the spot of? Because honestly, I'm really high on Levia right now. I've played against a lot of Levias, and, well, I've seen the power that she can put on the board.
Yeah, it looks like we're jumping right into the game. It looks as though Jesse went first. Arsenal Descartes wasn't able to get any 6 powers into the graveyard, whereas Andre on new here just started things off. Tunic counter to 1, Scale Peeler, and then now 2 6 powers get to go in front of this Leave No Witnesses. But the Venomous Bite threatens to get it all the way up to 7, get over the top and banish the top card in the deck. And, of course, the Fame Strike getting another damage as well. So this now becomes an attack for 8. Is there any prevention effects from Jesse? The answer is no. That Arsenal card from turn 0 is going to be banished. Now I can answer your question. Looks like the swing big there and the top of the deck. We're seeing 2 powerful reds, and one of which is a Blood Debt card, starting things off maybe earlier than Jesse wanted. And thus my answer is demonstrated for us. I think New asks kind of the more interesting questions in the matchup because especially her hero ability threatens to banish all the action cards. So if you're just attacking with stealth cards, of course that Leave No Witnesses did have an on-hit effect that Andre was willing to throw down, but if you're just attacking with stealth attacks and really putting the onus on the Levia player to fill their own graveyard proactively, it can be more challenging for them to do so, though Call to the Grave fixes a lot of those problems that Levia had in this matchup in the past.
Yeah. Looking at the way that first turn transpired, being able to steal the arsenal, being able to banish more cards off the top, taking away very powerful key pieces, that was a textbook turn from Andre, and continuing on, asking yet another question is Bonds of Agony with the same equipment pieces. We want to point that out. The equipment pieces being Alluring Desire and the Undertow Stilettos, meaning that you can indeed push that from the board state and just say, yep, this is activated right away.
1 damage so far on the combat chain, thanks to this Bonds of Agony, but banishing cards out of Levia's deck could go quite a long way in the matchup. It looks as though Jesse might be posturing to put 3 cards in front of this. Let's see precisely how he wants to navigate these blocks. Deep-Rooted Evil, though, was the card attacked with on the last turn. That does point a bit to something, in the quote-unquote recursion package we've heard our friend Mansant say time and time again, a way to recur cards like Deep-Rooted Evil, like Howl from Beyond, into matchups you expect to go a little longer. But it looks like the first response is going to be the Passover. That's a card that can work nicely in response to certain cards, right? But here is just going to go ahead and transcend, meaning that the Mask of Recurring Nightmares asks for yet another banish out of Jesse here.
And this is the onboard potential of Bonds. If you have a single copy of, in something in your hand, like Hiss, for example, then the rest of the board generates the on-hit effect of Bonds of Agony. But, hey, I want to hear from none other than Mansant himself. He actually he requested that he can chime in.
Get me in there, Coach.
Yeah, he said, throw me in, so let's throw him in.
Yeah, I'm just here to add some color to Jesse as a Levia player because he is on Runaways, for one, and someone who is huge in our Levia testing. He's always trying to circle back to this hero. It's actually him and Lucas Oswald, and I guess Pat Eschke as well, who within Runaways are always so close to bringing Levia to these big events, and to see him do it is pretty impressive. He is one of my favorite Levia players. So as we watch this matchup unfold, I just wanted to give my blessing to Jesse because he is one of the most impressive Levias, top 8ing. I think it might have even been Battle Hardened Milwaukee last year or the ProQuest last year on Levia as well. So we're trying to see if he can do that on repeat. But he's got my blessing. That's all I wanted to say.
So, you can see some of that intricacy and the knowledge that Jesse's showing there. The Send Packing being the target as the Bonds of Agony did able to get over the top. Much better for Jesse to see those cards leave the deck than like the Dread Screamer and the other, maybe a Shadow Realm Horror or Swing Big. That was the other card. That's now 2 Shadow Realm Horrors that are in the Banish Zone. That's one of the best cards in the matchup. So Jesse there just has to pass, take some damage to Blood Debt. For Andre is going to come in with a 5-card hand, all the tempo in the world. Life totals are even, but that's not the full picture here as the Scale Peeler threatens to make all of that equipment a little less attractive to block with.
Assassin is one of those interesting classes that sometimes works better with less cards in hand because you've used the other cards as, expenditures on blocking. Here, now presented with a 5-card hand, means that you can send both daggers. Scale Peeler comes across and makes it harder to block with equipment. And Beckoning Mistblade asking the question of, do you want to cover this up or can I have go again? Still having 2 cards plus an arsenal is like a large threat, a very large threat for what could be coming down the pipeline. And Levels is a great response.
Levels here with 2 blue cards in the pitch. Gets to pick 2 modes.
I'm picking moods as well.
Yeah. Gonna be, looks like, +2 and go again. So getting the +1 as well from the Beckoning Mistblade. So probably drawing a card because the Mistblade is going to give it the go again there. Dread Screamer now can be committed to this block, and because this attack doesn't have stealth, that's a card that can head to the graveyard. Doesn't have 6 power, but is just another card because with only 2 cards in the graveyard, Jesse's not able to do much. So he's looking for these attacks to be hit in the combat chain so that he is able to fill that graveyard proactively without cards like Call to the Grave.
Oh, and following up with the CNC. Now, there's no arsenal here, so this isn't going to threaten the arsenal. It's basically just 6 vanilla damage, but the lower your life total gets for any hero against an assassin, the more scared you are of any attack reactions that could be lurking in the deck. So 6 damage may just represent 6 damage, but it also might put you closer to worrying about the damage at the end of the game.
What is that card in Andre's hand? Because he did not have to use that Tunic for that CNC. He just kept a card in hand at the end of the turn, so it's clearly something he wanted to keep around. He thought was more important in the matchup than preserving that Tunic counter, even though it does not allow him to cycle through his deck if he pitched it. So this Hungering Slaughtering Beast, now that that 3rd and final card was able to be committed to the combat chain, allows for the Hungering Slaughtering Beast to not only be turned on, but turn that Blood Debt off, as that's getting higher and higher. So I think Jesse was thrilled to see that Levels of Enlightenment hit the combat chain.
Playing the Unmovable from the arsenal here, pitching the Bonds of Agony. Now, I think he was trying to line up another Bonds turn because I think the card he held onto looked to be Adjust the Nick, or that Hiss that we know is perhaps lurking in the hand as well. He's going to, he had a lot of attack reactions. Very red-heavy hand, it looks like. So just sending the Scale Peeler, maybe arsenaling, if that is Adjust the Nick, that card into the arsenal is pretty solid.
And look at this. Andre had the tempo, had the disruption, but now not finding the cooperative hand. Just has to pitch a couple reds into the dagger. It is part of the danger of playing this class in general and new. Sometimes, just like these new Rune Blades, you get hands that are a bunch of attack reactions that don't have good targets. So Andre set up for a better hand on this next turn cycle. But the question is now that Jesse has the tempo a little bit, has the onus to continue, most likely can move forward from here, but has to find a way to turn off that Blood Debt, or else Deep-Rooted Evil and the rest of those Blood Debt cards are going to take his life total down quite a bit.
Call to the Grave, going to be triggered here, searching the deck for a card. We'll see what he searches for. I just want to point out, as this search takes place, the new meta has really shifted things around in a lot of ways. The second round of this tournament, and it's the second time we've seen Unmovable be played from Arsenal. It's a card we've seen basically do nothing. Oh, this is a great use of Back Alley Break.
Nice.
A card that has actually been tested in a couple of ways in other heroes as well, sometimes in Acilio to gain an action point, but the combo of Call to the Grave, Back Alley Breakline giving you the action point feels like a strange but cool usage to activate here. But Unmovable, a card that we really just didn't see played for the longest time, especially into a meta that's going super wide, super low to the ground. Now immediately back to the fore of the game here.
I thought it was going to be either Beast Within or Mark of the Beast to turn off the Blood Debt if there was no other way to do so, but clearly Jesse has good use for an action point and even further use for Call to the Grave than I had realized. That is the first time I've seen Back Alley Breakline do anything. It's the first time ever.
Yeah, go back to your box of bulk, find all of your Back Alley Break lines and bust them out. It's a blue as well, so you could pitch it, blocked 2.
The card's insane. Card's
Graveyard
busted.
fill, very important. It put 2 different cards into the graveyard.
Looks like we're going to go ahead and take just a quick step away from the game because we need to make sure that we can continue to get it completed in time. The Mark of the Beast there was in the hand, so is able also to be banished immediately, right? Turning off the Blood Debt. How do we use the second action point is the question. There it is, the Deep-Rooted Evil. There's that recursion piece, not only coming out of the banished zone, but adding another 6 power attack to the graveyard as well.
choosing to sync here. Both players playing now at hyperspeed.
Mhm.
Neither of these are the hyper aggro decks you might expect, but they're playing like it now that we're at 2x, so that we can see the natural conclusion of this game. This is, by the way, I just want to shout out this production. The fact that
gosh.
we have the capability of seeing a live game and a second backup match. Huge shout out in chat. Everyone, you got to shout out the fine folks at Savage Feats for putting together this rig and bringing you this coverage.
Persuasive Prognosis is going to be the follow-up after the Scale Peeler connection. So once again, that beautiful armor suite that Levia is working with, Scale Peeler makes it a little more challenging, and the Persuasive Prognosis, again, threatens banishing in multiple ways. Threatens banishing from the hand, from the deck, banishing action cards put on the combat chain. And with Jesse already up to, looks like 7 or 6 blood debt there, it's going to be challenging for him to navigate that if he cannot find the ability to banish cards on his own turn, his own action phase, to turn off that blood debt.
And he's sitting at 19. His equipment suite is totally unblemished, but made all the more tarnished by that Scale Peeler. It's not very comfortable to block under the effects of Scale Peeler with some of these pieces of equipment. You have a fantastic equipment suite if you're playing as Levia. So much effective block on the board, but Scale Peeler making that harder and harder by the minute. And there's just the Nick coming down on the Persuasive Prognosis. It is going to vault over the top of the defenses here and get its triggered effect.
Banish the top card of the deck. Oh, a yellow, though. Are there any yellows in the hand? It is a Graveling Growl that is able to be banished as well. And the Justin Nick banishes a card in the second resolution of that. Looks like they resolved the Persuasive Prognosis first and then the Justin Nick. But for Andre there, that's a couple life gained and more blood debt for Jesse, and just a good card out of the hand in that Graveling Growl.
Yeah, 16 to 36, and trying to put things together on the Levia side. Going to mix up the graveyard here, going to shuffle it up, because we do have the banish here. Graveyard fill, super important for Levia, and that previous turn play of putting 2 cards in grave from the deck, essentially, actually coming in pretty clutch here.
Ooh, leaving a miss, however, leaving a miss along with the Hungering Slaughter Beast. So now Andre, if he only attacks with stealth attacks, will not give Jesse the chance to get a third card in the graveyard, and that could be the difference maker on a turn when there's so much blood debt. However, if you do so now, you give Jesse the window to flip into Levia Plasma Vet Consumed, which, when you have 10 cards in the Banish Zone there with blood debt, that might just be too much card advantage for New to deal with.
Scale Peeler being the name of the game yet again, and just, again, making the blocks on board so ineffective and inefficient. I was going to say, we're probably going to have to see this be covered up. The card comes down, Siren's Call makes itself known. We were talking before the stream began about this card, and Mansant was discussing how powerful Siren's Call can feel.
I would say bemoaning. I would say bemoaning is fair.
I was trying to be nice.
Charitable?
But, he was shaking his head in utter shock and terror. But because we did cover up the Scale Peeler, we can now effectively block more with our equipment. And there's the first of the equipment blocks, and a solid turn cycle played out here thanks to Endless Maw.
Now, banishing 3, just going to keep 1 card in hand as well, but of course we'll get the +3 from its own effect. So coming in for 9, 2 cards, 9 damage. This is so much of what makes Levia viable, are these high-value plays that she gets to play because of how volatile that Banish Zone truly can be. 2 more hisses in the combat chain as blocks. That's a couple times now we've seen Andre with 2 of these red attack reactions in the hand. The other time he just had to pitch them into the dagger. Here, just having to utilize them for blocks. But the Scale Peeler is going to be the follow-up. Only 1 more card in hand. What's the best card here? Codex of Frailty. He's got the Tunic, so it could come in with something like a CNC.
It is indeed Codex of Frailty. I was going to say the exact same thing. Feels quite nice. Now, you could just, I mean, you have the resources floating. I was going to say you could throw a CNC, but I feel like you're just going to throw out Leave No Witnesses. It's a breakpoint attack. Scale Peeler's connected. You're basically just asking for the husk at that point.
Exactly. You're probably getting the husk no matter what. So in this way, you preserve your Tunic counter for something a little more interesting, unless it looks as though Jesse might be looking to flip on this turn. He's going to go ahead and block with a couple cards. There's a Howl from Beyond. There's that other part of the quote-unquote recursion package along with the Deep-Rooted Evil. It's going to be the Writhing Beast, so not going to be flipping on this turn as long as a card with 6 or more power is banished. But Jesse keeping that husk around just a little bit longer.
And he's just doing a fantastic job of just continually filling graveyard, taking 3, having 1, filling graveyard, taking 3, having 1. This is how you find success with a hero that can die to her own effect, is being very meticulous about that graveyard fill, about the consistent banishes, knowing how the hero lines up and plays. Because if you don't do this, then you just walk into losses with the hero. One of the most complicated decks in the game, perhaps the most complicated in the game.
Andre here just going to take that 6 from 32 to 26. Frailty token heading away. We'll see what the random draw off the top was for Andre potentially on this turn. 13 Blood Debt cards. So now Levia Redeemed is online as well, right? It's 13 cards you need in the Banish Zone, I believe, to be able to just activate that ability. That would put Jesse to 8, so most likely going to wait and utilize more life as a resource or see about the Consumed. Double Trouble now coming in with Go again. Threatens to do some banishing and get some power if we've activated an attack reaction here. That's going to buy a Wrecker Romp block. That will be banished, but doesn't have Blood Debt. It's technically a card she can play because it's a blue card, but...
Key choice to not swing the Scale Peeler on this turn. And that could have asked for Equipment Block here. But this is definitely threatening a lot of attack reactions probable from the hand. Now, you mentioned it earlier. We've already seen multiple attack reactions from the hand, but instead, this is going to be a Transcend turn. So responding to something like a Scowling Fleshbag was always a possibility, thanks to Transcending, and then probably using Mask, and that's exactly what we see.
Utilizing Mask does still have an action point in the going in. That's going to banish the Call to the Grave, so not adding to the Blood Debt count. Going to just go ahead and pump up with the Arousing Wave, putting it up to an attack for 5 thanks to the text of the Double Trouble. So that's going to get 2 damage over the top, which means that Jesse is no longer able to flip in this game. Cannot become Blasmafet Levia Consumed. The attack reaction over the top is going to make that impossible. And now a secondary Transcend means that New can be activated on this turn if Andre would like, and potentially throw another big, powerful attack onto the combat chain. Let's see what the blues are that are available. At least there's the Wrecker Romp that just got bought on the last turn.
Yep, Jesse presenting the Banish Zone. There is the swing of the Scale Peeler follow up. So waiting on the Scale Peeler until you see what actually is presented as blocks, a very heads up play, and pitching over here just to send that Scale Peeler for the point of damage. Not using the equipment on this turn may come back to bite Jesse because the availability was there.
Cards in graveyard. Looks like they're counting these at the moment. 19 minutes left in their round.
I've just gotten word that we will have a 2-0 Vincent for the next round.
Come on. Come on, Vincent.
I'm interested.
Come on, Vincent.
We ball.
Vincent, we ball.
Let's go.
Let's see what the block is here on the Scale Peeler. It looks like it might just be the Apex Bone Breaker. Now, sadly for Jesse here, this Carrion Husk at the start of the turn, we're going to see that Jesse is 13 or less life. So that Carrion Husk, that is 6 value that was not able to be gained in this game. Something Jesse is going to be thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very key point to the turning point of this game. This previous turn right now would have been a fantastic time to just commit the Carrion Husk. You don't know if the opponent has the attack reactions, but you might as well throw it out there just to get the value. And in this case, of course, had the attack reactions and did not get the value out of that 6 block.
Looks like they're going to resolve the Unworldly Bellow here. So the new activation was still, activated. So there is the potential to come in with a blue attack if there is one that can be played, which means the Carrion Husk could get the value there. The question is there one that Andre is able to play? Wrecker Romp, you need to discard a card. Looks like Deadwood Rumbler would be the option. That plus the Unworldly Bellow means this is going to be an attack, drawing and discarding the Justinic. Now it's time for the Carrion Husk to come in. That's going to buy 5 block thanks to the Scale Peeler. It's going to be a total for 8 thanks to the Unworldly Bellow, so 3 damage over the top. Any further blocks from Jesse, or is he okay to take this damage?
Jesse's checking the Banish Zone, trying to line up. It looks like the die indicating 13 Blood Debt cards here.
See if there are any reactions here. does have the ability to utilize the Undertow Stilettos. Looks like he's going to. That's going to get a Slither. Is there another card that can be played? Looks like maybe the Soul Harvest can come in as well. Let's see. So this is going to be Dread Screamer. We're going to banish 3 cards
Oh my god.
from the graveyard here. If we hit a CNC, right, this is going to have go again.
Oh my god, he hits
the CNC.
So
Oh,
Red
no
Screamer
way.
gains go again. He
Wait,
continues to have
crazy.
the access to the banished zone. Blue cards can continue to be played.
No
2 cards in
way.
hand from Jesse. Now he's actually just in danger of dying to Blood Debt as well.
No blocks. Jesse has to go down to 4 here. Does still have some armor available, but with what's the other blue card that Andre is able to play? Another Dread Screamer. Does he have another CNC in there? Does he have anything that he can hit?
Coming for 4, it's a blue.
I remembered the 1 CNC came in. Those 3 cards, looks like that's not going to be any card with 6 or more power. So this is 4 no-go again, but does threaten Jesse's life total here.
Still 4 damage. Casual lethal throws the Apex Bonebreaker in front of it. But what a wild series of plays here.
Jesse goes down to 2. I believe, let's see, so those cards that were played out of the banish zone now are no longer in the banish zone. So
Correct.
I think at the moment, Levia Redeemed is no longer an option. Has to be at 13, right? Has to be.
So counting through right now.
Up to 11. Jesse, what do you have to banish on the turn?
He's got the Doomsday.
Doomsday resolves, creates Blasmafet, the Soul Harvester token. Levia herself is not Blasmafet here. On attack, I believe we can banish a card, right? If we, Yep, so we're going to go ahead and banish the Boneyard Marauder.
Has the capability. He's turned off Blood Debt. Now he's up to 12. He's got a chance. Sitting at 2. This is swinging 6. It's persistent on the board. And let's be honest, Blasmafet is quite annoying on the board. It gives you a lot more reach, a lot more leeway. But with your opponent's sitting at 20, they can just take it and send 4 cards. Now remember, there are attack reactions in this deck. And if you don't block correctly, you could just be completely blown out. Pitching a blue hiss, sending the Scale Peeler.
Oh, he looks like he might have reached for the Scowling Fleshback here. I was going to say, is this the time you just take a card out of your opponent's hand? Blue card in the pitch. Scale Peeler coming in 4-1. Now, Jesse, if he takes this damage, that means 1 block less on the Apex, 1 block less on the Scowling. But it has Piercing, so the Scowling Fleshback is the only option in that equipment zone to block with that Scale Peeler. I want to know the odds of hitting the CNC on that last turn. That was so sick.
So giving a card here means that the follow-up from Andre. Oh, Siren's
But
Call.
there's no red in the hand. Now we know everything that's in the hand for Andre. Graveling Growl, and Shadow Realm Horror. So 2 cards left for Andre here. Tunic, that's going to be Levels of Enlightenment.
Now, Scowling Fleshbag onto the Scale Peeler might have prevented one of these cards from coming down, but this is just presenting some damage that can be covered up clearly, cleanly.
Oh, and this is not taking into Blasmafet here, not respecting the demon, just trying to get some damage across. That's going to buy, looks like, the Graveling Growl block. Keeping the Fleshbag around. Does Andre have a follow-up? Because it has Go Again. He chose Go Again most likely for a reason. Leave No Witnesses for 4 is the follow-up here from Jesse.
We could see the final block of Apex Bonebreaker here just to cover up. It looks like that is the consideration.
Block with the Shadow Realm Horror. Apex Bonebreaker going to follow along, keep the arsenal around. Interesting for Jesse there. Didn't use the Scowling Fleshbag on the attack with Go Again. Was happy keeping it around for potentially something more impactful. The Scowling Fleshbag would have saved him 2 life from the Scowling and then the 4 damage being threatened. But here just getting to come in with the Blasmafet. My goodness. Does the Might affect the Blasmafet?
It's a great question.
I feel like no.
One that I don't believe it does. I don't know the answer.
Looks
It
like-
does.
looks
It
like
does indeed.
They're posturing that it does. And the Hooves of the Shadow Beast, because the Blasmafet banished a shadow card with 6 or more power, Blood Debt is off, and an extra action point, so 1 damage over the top from the Blasmafet, triggering into Levia Redeemed with that action point. So now Jesse back up to 8. Cards no longer have Blood Debt, so does not have to think about that. Gain 6 life, attacked for 7. Now Andre has to try to get over the top after blocking 6.
Threading the line to this point and getting to Levia Redeemed and avoiding dying to your own Blood Debt Only a master could have put this together, especially after the insane turn that Andre did, where he stole cards out of the banish zone to prevent any sort of flipping, any sort of transformation. And now you're in a position, it's 19-8, but you've got Blasmafet on the board. You've got a full hand, and Andre has to do something about it.
What?
5
foot tall and bulletproof in this new list?
I have seen this on multiple occasions floating around, actually, and this is one of those weird kind of tech cards where, yeah, I mean, you have control of the game, so can you afford to play a 2-card, or in some cases a 2-card plus Arsenal hand? 10 damage, going to throw that, and the turn cycle's basically over from that point.
So yeah, Andre just blocks 2 card. His intellect was 2. The hangover too strong. 3 minutes and 51 seconds on the clock, but the clock is ticking down quickly. Blood Rush Bellow is the follow-up from Jesse Kennan. From the jaws of Blasmafet's maw, from the jaws of defeat, Jesse has absolutely sculpted this endgame and is now able to go claw into something else, into Andre's 19 life with a Blasmafet still on the board.
Ask us, Sink Below going to meet that first claw, sinking and drawing 3-card hand. Andre going down to 18, feeling like, okay, maybe the grasp on this game is starting to slip. I'm having to give more of these cards. There's the Dread Screamer coming across for 8, thanks to the buff that is coming across.
Oh, and he's got the, I was going to like, oh, does he have a Graveling Growl? He's got Blasmafet. There can be 6 more damage at the end of this turn. It's just playing 4 cards out of the block for Andre. Now Blasmafet comes in, 6 more damage. Andre down to 12. Only 2 minutes left in the round, however. So if these players are going to reach a satisfying conclusion, it's got to happen now.
A full block committed from Andre, a very smart play, a heads-up play, because you know that this is one of the power turns with that Blood Rush Bellow, drawing 2 cards, very powerful in the game of Flesh and Blood. But can Jesse come back from the brink? Tear Limb from Limb, Mandible Claw, 3 go again. Tear Limb from Limb still available on that buff, is still going to come through.
Dread Screamer now is going to be an attack for 12 thanks to the buff from the Tear Limb from Limb. That means 6 damage. That means 6 damage is here, represented afterwards thanks to the Blasmafet. If the go again hits, which he does, that's going to take the cards out of hand. Blasmafet comes in for 6. Is that going to be the game?
Gives 3 block, no hand. Yeah, blocking 3, no hand. Andre is going to pass turn.
Andre is at 1 here. The card, the life total is not represented, so Jesse looks like he has 1 turn to try to figure this out. See how they want to represent this final turn. And he's going to concede at the end of the game. Sportsmanship from both players here. What a round. What a game here from our backup match that really should have been even more of a feature.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, if you're looking for pure cinema, I mean, I'm hearing Mansant literally shout into our ears. Pure cinema was that game. Going down to 2, managing to find the narrow way through, flip, become Levia redeemed, and then power turn after power turn after power turn. Amazing, amazing time.